Hello, I'm Imara Jones, reporting with FSTV live from Netroots Nation, reporting on a whole host of issues that are going on here. Today we are joined by the legendary, the one, the only, Eleanor Holmes Norton. Legendary, but going back to civil rights too, delegate. To talk about a series of things that are relevant to her district and just her overall insights at this critical time in American history, where she is a living witness to the change that we've had to civil rights, helped to bring about a lot of that change, and now can tell us ways in which we might be backsliding. But we're going to start with an issue that is near and dear to your heart. First of all, thank you for joining us. Is DC statehood. You are here at this conference. You brought a large delegation here to rally for DC statehood. I saw them all at breakfast, including you, all preparing. Can you tell us why you believe that DC statehood is still such an important issue and why you've decided to make a big push here and now?
Now that we have a Democratic Congress, and I've been handicapped, so to speak, because for most of my service in the Congress, I have been in the minority. Once you're in the majority, go for it. When I first came to the Congress, I was in the majority for a split second. I had the first statehood vote then. Now I'm back in the majority, and I'm telling the world, there should not be any citizens of the United States who pay taxes and have no representation in the Senate at all, and have only me in the House while I vote in committee. I vote even on some matters in the House. I do not have that final vote in the House, and yet the people I represent are number one, not number 10, not number 2, number 1 in federal taxes paid to support the United States government.
Wow. Why do you think there's such a dismissal of the idea of DC statehood whenever it's brought up? Why are people not attuned to the democracy deficit that you're pointing out?
I think whenever a state tries to get into the Union, and to be fair, it has always been difficult for a state to get into the Union. Usually you had to get one for one Democratic state, one Republican state. Hawaii and Alaska were that. They were the last states to enter the Union. So that's why I'm undaunted by what we're up against. What concerns me is that it's taken 218 years. That's a long time to be with inequality in your own country. I'm a native Washingtonian, a third generation, so I feel it's on me. Not only because of my own ancestors, but because of how long our city has been a part of the Union. It's one of the oldest parts of the Union, and yet it is at the bottom of the Union. Not when it comes to taxes. $3 billion in taxes every year, that's a tidy sum. Not when it comes to growth. One of the top 10 cities in the United States in growth. When I look at the city I represent, we have more than earned our right to become the 51st state. I hope you notice that. 51, HR 51, that's what we've reserved for our bill.
HR 51 for the 51st state. Now, just mechanically, because you get a lot of people on conservative radio who freak out about DC statehood for a lot of different reasons. But sometimes they point out this issue saying, well, the founders wanted to have an independent federal district that wouldn't be under the control of any state, but DC statehood doesn't infringe on federally designated property. Isn't that right? Or what's the mechanics of that?
Yeah, well, the mechanics of what the framers were after really has to do with a kind of accident of history. When they were in Philadelphia, if I may say so, remember the capital was in several different parts of the country until they finally carved out parts of Maryland, Virginia. When they were in Philadelphia, the Revolutionary War heroes who hadn't gotten their pension marched on the Congress. It was hardly formed. The United States said, oh my God, there's nobody to protect us. They said, maybe we need an independent capital. Well, nobody would argue that today. There's the federal government, there's the districts owned very ample security forces, and yet we're left with that 18th century issue, controlling the district's right to be treated equally with the citizens with other citizens in the United States. And so we won't have it anymore. We're going for it.
Great. One of the issues that highlights what we're talking about, this democracy deficit, the way in which the district is treated differently, is the fact that President Trump had his July 4th celebration and owes the district millions and millions of dollars. I think it's $5 million, more than that, and has indicated in no way that he plans to pay.
No, he hasn't said that. He doesn't dare say that. But what he did was something unprecedented. July 4th has never been, in our city and I think in the country, been used by politicians. They march in parades. I marched on July 4th in the Palisades Parade in D.C. It's a hometown parade. But presidents don't take to the mall to say, look, America, look at me. So he sabotaged the 4th of July in the first place, at a time when he had not even paid the District of Columbia for the inauguration.
Oh, wow.
So he's deepening the debt. The federal government, of course, assumes some of it, but the district has to use its own security forces, and that's why he owes us for it. And I intend to get it. Now, I don't think I'll get it from him. I get it from where the money is. I'm going to get it from the appropriators in the Congress of the United States. They owe us. Until now, every president left some money there because you never know what will come up.
Right.
You will need D.C. if, look where we are, we're in an age of terrorism.
Right.
So you don't want any deficit in security to develop. He doesn't care. He treated this issue the way he treats most issues. If it's not about him, it's not about anything. So I'm not bothering with him. That's not where the money is anywhere. He has to come the same place I have to come, to the House appropriators, to the Senate appropriators to get money.
Mm-hmm. One of the questions that I have for you, given your experience, is I remember when President Obama was elected, and I think that you had done an interview with NBC right after that, and were asked how you felt about having a first black president. And you said that you were torn in certain ways. That on the one hand you were celebrating, but then on the other hand you realized that it could actually set us up to be stymied on civil rights. And I'm wondering if, given where we are right now and have ended up, is your fear being played out, or was it something different in terms of him not being able to take action? Or
the Republicans, of course, were at pains to oppose everything that President Obama was for, but far from setting us back on civil rights, he moved us forward in so many ways. So I think that among his many accomplishments will be that he moved the country forward on race, even as we see it being moved backward as I speak.
Right. And one last question, keeping in your role as longtime political expert and analyst, is there are spirited new members of your caucus who have very strong views about the speaker and the way in which she is or is not handling issues related to the Democratic Party. As we said before we started filming, you were a person when you came into Congress and continue to be one with very strong views yourself, not known to be not outspoken, but have also found a way to be in the caucus for a long time and to work within the confines. And so I'm wondering what you would say to people, your younger colleagues, or just people in general, about the need to have that passion, but how do you balance it with the institutional realities of the House?
Well, we admire their spunk. They all happen to be from safe districts. Whereas the Speaker is largely responsible, if you were to name any person besides the people themselves, for why we now have the majority. The last person we want to attack is a speaker who, by the way, is one of the most progressive Democrats in the House. She's from San Francisco. So it's not as if, she's over here and the rest of us are over there. But her job is to get bills out, especially bills like defense bills, bills that simply must be passed every year. And here we have a situation where she held out, not only holding out, but negotiating every step of the way to get things in the bill that would make it more progressive. But the Republicans control the Senate. So if you are a thoughtful politician and you want to get it done, you can take the most progressive bill you want to and give it to the Senate, and it will not pass. So she did the very best she could, and by the way, she got the overwhelming support. I think the only ones who did not support her were these 3 or 4 freshmen, so that tells you her caucus is with her. But our caucus has conservative Democrats, and I'm very proud of them, because without them we probably wouldn't have those seats. We have these young Democrats from safe seats. They're kind of trying out their oats, and those of us who've been in the House for some time ought to understand that. The one thing I think they are not free to do is to divide our caucus, and an attack on the speaker, one of the most progressive Democrats in the country, because of a must-pass bill that she had to get through, probably shows political immaturity about being in the House, and that's why it seems to me they have to be forgiven. And I think the Speaker would be the first to forgive them. But I don't think it helps our caucus when you consider that she's got to bear in mind not only people like me and like these freshmen who have safe seats. How did we get the majority? About 40 House members come from Republican districts, districts Trump run. They are all of them here by 1 vote, 2 or 3 votes. And so the Speaker has to make sure that she keeps them here, and she has understood when they have voted against Democratic bills, votes that we needed, because we also need them in the House of Representatives. So if you're going to be a grown-up Democrat, you better act like one.
Right, and it's a place that really depends on cooperation, right, with your colleagues.
It does, and yet I don't have any particular criticism of these freshman Democrats, because I think they have generally been good Democrats, and most of them stayed away. When they saw that there was some criticism of the Speaker for trying to pass a bill that had to be passed, you will notice that some of them pulled back. So we really don't have a lot of opposition to this Speaker, and I think this Speaker needs all the help she can get if we're going to maintain our majority in the House of Representatives.
Right. Well, thank you, Delegate Holmes Norton, for your leadership, for reminding us about the tenets of democracy embedded in your push for D.C. statehood, and also for reminding us of the fact that nothing gets done without a majority.
That is so well said. Nothing gets done without a majority.
Nothing gets done.
Keep our majority.
Nothing gets done without a majority. Enjoy the rest of the Netroots conference, and it's really a pleasure to talk to you.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.